After my husband passed away, his children said, "Everything belongs to us." I stayed silent and signed everything over in their names. But at the final hearing, the truth I revealed changed everything. The date on my husband's grave hadn't fully settled yet when his eldest son snatched the file from my hands and said, "Everything is ours now. The house, the business, the accounts, everything." There was no grief in his voice. Only calculation. I didn't say anything. People often think silence means weakness. I used to believe that too. We lived on the south side of Chicago. An ordinary house, old, but clean. My husband, Michael, ran a small construction company. Not a big operation. Just enough to pay the bills, keep health insurance active, and let us go out for burgers on Sundays. I worked as a nurse, mostly night shifts. We weren't rich, but we were stable. We had built something solid, piece by piece, the way ordinary people do. Michael had 2 children from his first marriage. They were grown, living their own lives. We saw them on holidays, birthdays, the occasional dinner. Money, though, was always there between us, unspoken, hovering. It was never discussed openly, but it was always present. A quiet tension no one named. When Michael got sick, everything changed. The cancer spread fast. Too fast. Hospital rooms filled with machine noises became our new normal. I learned the rhythms of the beeping monitors the same way I learned medication schedules. At night, while Michael slept, I sat with bills spread out on the small tray table, calculating which extra shifts I could take, which expenses could wait. His children came by sometimes. Not often. And when they did, their questions weren't about pain or comfort. Did Dad sign anything? Whose name is the company under? Are the accounts joint? I answered calmly. I always did. The day Michael died, something in me broke. Not loudly. Quietly. The kind of break that doesn't scream, it just settles deep in your chest. But after the funeral, I noticed their eyes weren't on me. They were on folders. Documents. Files. At the lawyer's office, they sat across from me like this was a business meeting. "We want everything," the younger son said. "It's Dad's work," the daughter added. "It should stay with us." The lawyer looked at me, waiting. Encouraging me, silently, to push back. To argue. I said, "Okay." They blinked. "Really?" the lawyer asked. I nodded. I signed over the house. The business. The accounts. Everything went into their names. Friends told me I'd lost my mind. At the nurse's station, I heard someone whisper, "That woman is too soft." Soft? No. I was buying time. My life became smaller after that. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment where the train rattled past overhead. I picked up more shifts. Night after night, my feet swelled with exhaustion, but my mind stayed sharp. 4 years, I had handled the books for Michael's business. I never asked for my name on anything, but I saw every receipt, every loan, every payroll record. I knew how the company actually ran. And I knew something else. What they inherited wasn't a fortress. It was a shell. A few months later, the business began to wobble. I knew exactly why. Michael had always kept a separate account, not for anything illegal, but for taxes and emergencies. Years earlier, after his children had withdrawn money unexpectedly and one account had been temporarily frozen, he'd set it up carefully. That account was in my name. It wasn't a secret. No one had bothered to ask. The final hearing came. The courtroom was cold, sterile. His children looked confident. Their lawyer smiled like this was already over. The judge asked, "Do you have anything to say?" I stood. My hands were shaking, but my voice didn't. "I gave them everything," I said. Because it was their right. But the full truth wasn't presented. I placed the documents on the table. Account statements. Outstanding business liabilities. Contracts I had managed for years. Medical bills still unpaid. The company debts, pending healthcare costs, and the account that kept the business running, I said carefully, are legally in my name. Silence filled the room. The lawyer's expression changed. The daughter whispered, "What is this?" I met her eyes. "This is reality." The judge took time to review everything. Out in the hallway, the younger son shouted at me, "You tricked us." I kept my voice low. I gave you exactly what you asked for. You never asked for responsibility. The ruling came down. They kept the business, but they also kept the debt. The account remained mine. The court recognized that I had worked for years without pay and awarded fair compensation. No jackpot. No revenge fantasy. Just enough to breathe again. Weeks later, I stepped down from full-time nursing and moved to part-time work at a community clinic. One afternoon, an elderly woman came in holding a stack of papers, overwhelmed. "I don't understand any of this," she said. I sat her down. I explained. Slowly. She squeezed my hand when we were done. "You changed my day," she said. That night, back in my apartment, the train passed overhead again. I looked at Michael's photo on the shelf. I wasn't angry. Just calm. I hadn't screamed. I hadn't fought publicly. I had simply told the truth, at the right moment. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. And sometimes, an ordinary woman, one who just wants to pay her bills and live honestly, gets to write the ending of her own story.